on Australia's business channel. This is Mediaweek.
Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Nigel Freitas, filling in for Bridie Barry. Ahead today, Fairfax prepares to launch its new compact metro mastheads, and will former Vogue editor Christy Clement's new autobiography blow the lid on the magazine industry. But first up today, News Limited has rejected suggestions it's gearing up for a tilt at Network 10 after the board terminated CEO James Warburton in favour of senior News Corp executive Hamish McLennan. News Corp described the speculation as highly conspiratorial, highly fanciful and wrong. For more on the changes at the top of the 10 network, Mediaweek editor and publisher James Manning joins me now, as usual. James, welcome to Mediaweek today. Now, the big question on everyone's lips after that decision by Network 10, he only had 13 months in the job, James Warburton. Was that enough time, realistically, for him to turn things around?
No, it certainly wasn't. Could he have done a better job though in those 13 months? Yes, he could have, and I think he'd probably say that too. But everybody has some falls along the way, and with programming, you build up a knowledge of the shows that don't work, so you don't do that one again. It's a hit and miss thing. So you build up that history. But on the other hand, the people bankrolling the network, even though they did have deep pockets, if you're not really making any money, you've got to look pretty hard. And they made that call about, is things going to get any better in 2013 off the schedule they can see? They probably thought, well, maybe not.
But these are long-term problems at the company. They're not likely to turn around in just the space of 12 months, are they? Is the board being too impatient with, or were they too impatient with Warburton?
Yeah, they probably were, but then again, I think it comes back. Well, if you've got the money, though, if you're financing something, you've probably got that right to be a little bit interventionist. Right. So that's the way I see it.
Now, Hamish McLennan, another advertising background here, he's been called Hamish the Hammer, I've heard, based on some stuff he's done with production companies overseas. What's high on his plate when he comes in?
It's simple what he's got to do, but it's hard to do it. And the simple thing is you just get those ratings up. That's what it's all about. If the year hadn't started so slowly in the ratings for 10, you can be pretty sure that James Warburton would be still sitting there today. So he's really got to look at that programming, just focus on every slot and as this show worth its spot in our schedule. How
does he do that, James? I mean, that's the million-dollar question. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, drive up ratings. They've been trying. What should their strategy be?
Well, for me, I think it just comes back to what's been working well. You look at what shows work well for you, what is still pulling big audiences, and you carefully, this isn't brain surgery, and I'm sure they would have been trying this anyway, but you've just got to really focus on that. And I come back to the ratings, you look at that stuff very carefully, and those audience patterns don't change. They identify a program they like, and they stick with it. It doesn't go up a lot, doesn't go down a lot, they stay with it. And if you've got a show in the schedule that's not rating well, it's just not a great idea to keep it there.
Now, one thing he's already said when he came on board is that everything's on the table, and he also said that he wants to take that demographic older. Let me read you a comment from an article on Mumbrella. They've said, while its younger heartland is the audience that is moving fastest away from traditional TV, moving towards an older audience will see 10's sales team pitted directly against 9 and 7. Is that a battle they want to have?
No, it's not. But I think when they say going older, I think they're talking probably only a couple of years, because they're catering quite well for their younger audience with their digital channel 11. One's also doing still pretty well in going to those sort of younger viewers. So I don't think they're going to be going, really targeting 25, 54. They'll probably be under 50 if you want to put an age sort of on it. But so just a little bit older.
Okay. We'll come back to Channel 10, I'm sure, during the show. Let's go on to other news now. Well, commuters will have less problems with their Fairfax papers from next week when the company launches its new compact editions of its metro mastheads, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. The new editions will include 2 new sections, Pulse covering health, science and personal well-being, and the shortlist will replace the Metro section. For more on these changes and how the company is preparing, Fairfax Metro Media's commercial director, Ed Harrison, joins us now in the studio. Ed, welcome to Media Week today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we've heard a lot from Fairfax that these changes have been driven by feedback from readers.
Absolutely.
If this feedback has been so positive, why wait until now to do this? Why not do it before?
Yeah, good question. I mean, these are brands with a 180-year heritage, and messing with those brands is not something that we do lightly. So, quite frankly, we've taken our time on this. We've taken it through, a professional project management process, and frankly, something that we've inherited from the digital part of our business that we've brought into the print world. So, what we've ended up with, we're sure, is the absolute best solution and the best result for all of our readers.
Ed, tell us about you're not going total compact. You're keeping the broadsheet on the Saturday as your main book.
That's right.
Tell us why that's happening and what's happening at the Sunday Age in Melbourne.
Yeah, well, we, as you say, James, we are leaving the weekend paper's broadsheet, at least for now. It's a very different reading experience on the weekend. And we take a view that we will get the maximum benefit from making the change over the week. We will certainly learn and refine, I'm sure, through that period, and then in time we can make a decision around the weekend paper.
The lifeblood of the business is advertising, as we know. Do you risk losing any advertisers who say, we like the broadsheet format better?
No, I mean, that's simply not the case. That's really not the case. I mean, we've done a great deal of research around the efficacy of advertising in the new format. And bear in mind, this is a very well-trodden path. If you look to the UK, the US, plenty of broadsheets have gone down this route. Many recall studies demonstrating the effects. And we've actually taken it a step further and done some neuro testing. Very objective way of testing brain activity to measure levels of engagement. We've done some eye tracking studies. I know we're really confident that we're going to market with a good proposition, and the impact for our advertisers will be as good, if not better, than it was in broadsheet.
Were any of the advertisers a little bit sceptical though, because you're virtually, I think, charging the same rate for your full page and your compact as you were in the broadsheet?
Yes. What
sort of things were advertisers saying who liked those broadsheet bangs they were getting? What sort of won them over, do you think?
Well, there's two things here. One is around the value discussion, and really, particularly with our media agencies, we negotiate on an ongoing basis, on a daily basis, and this really just puts one more variable into the mix. And in terms of the opportunity to deliver impact, we're also designing lots of more creative solutions. We're trying to align some of the creative solutions that we have in the newspaper with the web. Increasingly, we're having advertisers who are buying solutions, both on the web and in the newspaper. And if we can get the creative to look somewhat similar, then that can help. And so we've got an exciting opportunity there for advertisers to do things we were never, frankly, comfortable doing in a broadsheet format.
Let's take the other side of the coin now with advertisers. Do you think there were any that found that the broadsheet format too big and so they stayed away, that might now be attracted to the more compact size?
Quite likely, but I think really the compact plays to the consumer. And it's important for us. This is really aimed at increasing levels of engagement with our audiences and giving them product that they're more willing to spend time with and will spend longer with. And I think that naturally flows through to our benefit to our advertisers.
Interested, and I'll still get you on this research. I guess you were researching readers and lapsed readers as well, and maybe opposition readers.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be people who are buying another newspaper at the moment who might come and sample you, and you might actually win across?
Absolutely. I mean, we certainly expect in the first week a significant uplift from that sampling effect. And if you look at any experiences around the world, then that typically is what happens. But I have to make it very clear that into the long run, this isn't about gaining very significantly additional audiences into the newspaper. This is really about firming up that existing audience we have. I expect that there will be an element that migrates, particularly when you do give them something that's a little more convenient. So I would think we are more likely to see an element of that in the Melbourne market, perhaps a little more than in Sydney, where our competitive products are really quite a long way apart.
So this is a defensive move then, Ed, not a offensive move to gain share?
Within the print market, there's an element there that you could describe as a defensive component. I mean, much of our front foot attack on market share right now is happening in the digital space, quite frankly. We've already secured lead, if not dominant positions in tablet, the same in mobile. Our websites are enormous. We have lead positions there. And if you look globally as well, it's unusual for traditional print publishers to have got that footprint in digital. So that's quite frankly, where we see the big audience growth over the coming years.
So let's put that in context, though, because Fairfax has acknowledged that there is a long-term trend away from papers, and we don't know at what point they're going to become uneconomic, but they will. Have you tried to accelerate that process by giving away the content for free online?
Well, so, that's an age-old debate that runs and runs and always will. And I think we're coming to a point in time where we're seeing increased willingness for people to pay for content online, to pay online generally, and much more comfortable with providing credit cards online.
Are we seeing willingness, or are we seeing businesses saying we now have to do it?
No, I think it's probably a combination of the two, quite frankly. But a genuine willingness, and again, there's plenty of examples in the US and some in the UK where that's becoming a reality for publishers, and they're deriving meaningful revenue streams through that paid option. So, that's something we're moving towards.
As commercial director, your biggest challenge long term, I guess, is converting your print revenues, which are still very strong, to digital. How's that going?
Yeah, well, enormously successful in as much as we've built, this huge footprint already in the digital space. Again, very unusual globally. If you look at local players here, we are, by advertising revenue, the second or third largest player in the market. So we already have a very big footprint there. So, and we have a play in many different areas in that space. So it's not something that worries us.
Now, I've heard that you've stayed away from the term tabloid. You've chosen the term compact for a particular reason.
Absolutely.
On the editorial side of things, how can readers, how can your audience be assured that you will stick with what you've got now and not veer off into that tabloid format?
Absolutely. And that, when we talk to all of our audiences and in all the research that we've done, it's the overriding concern is around that quality of the content. Really, very few concerns about the sides moving down. It's just what it says in terms of the tone. But we've made it very, very clear the tone is not changing. If anything, we may find that it lifts slightly. And there's a great deal of work being done around our newsrooms to ensure that that remains the case.
We heard from Greg Highwood last week that some of the sections are doing a little bit tough. I think Drive is not as strong as it maybe once was. My Career has got some pressures. We heard from West Australian newspapers saying, look, a lot of their auto people want to be up in the front part of the book now. They don't want to be sort of segmented in that. Are there changing things we're seeing in terms of positions in newspapers?
Yeah, there are. I think it's interesting conversations around products like Drive, to what extent it is a classified plot, to what extent it's actually an editorial consumer proposition. And frankly, that's where our strength is. That's right, yeah. And we're fortunate as a publisher, we have the options. So increasingly we're just looking at what's the best mix of print products, digital products that will give them the outcome that they're after.
What are you doing, Ed, to celebrate the launch, or to really get it out there that you're doing this next week?
Yeah. So with consumers, we have, this is coming off the back of a significant brand campaign, both for Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. But we are going to be doing some free distribution, particularly around the rail network, as commuters come into the city. Sensible place to do it. We have a launch partner for this as well, which is BMW. So we're really pleased to have them on board, a brand that fits really quite neatly with our audience, and we're going to be sampling from the back of BMW X1s around the city. So I think you'll see there's plenty going on in the market next week. So we're incredibly excited. I mean, for us, it really is a historic day on Monday, and everybody around the business is really excited, and we want to get there quickly.
All right, Ed, great insights there. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Nigel.
All right, coming up next on Media Week, the latest free-to-air and pay TV ratings.